This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Selling Biloxi Belle and Biloxi Boy Cooking and Fishing is about how to have fun on the water. We're going to do a little bit of cooking. We're going to do a little bit of rebuilding a sailboat. Maybe doing some sailing. We're going to do a whole lot of boating, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. Thank y'all, and I hope y'all enjoy it. Also, if you like the music, check out my brother Ben Thompson, Barefoot with a Stetson. Name of the song is Barefoot and Ready to Party.
Take a tall glass and fill it with ice. Pour some vodka to make it nice. Then add some rum and a little gin. A shot of tequila for the win. Next comes orange liquor and sweet and sour. Mix a splash of cola, get ready for the kick. You want a drink that'll set you free? Get yourself a Long Island iced tea. A pub on the wharf or a bar on the beach. All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink with a straw and umbrella, or a premium bottle from a nice wine cellar. A cup of ice and a little Sprite. You're getting ready for a fun night. Add some light rum and a little more. Then passion fruit juice is your next pour. A little lime juice and you're almost done. Now a big shot of 151. You're drinking something that is insane. Enjoy drinking a hurricane. A pub on the wharf or a bar on the beach. All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink made with Bacardi, bare feet and blue jeans. Get ready to party. Put some cherry brandy in a cup. Grab some ice and fill it up. Add dark rum and light rum too. Then pineapple and papaya juice. Add sugar and get ready for some fun. The last ingredient is 151. Your senses will flood like a tsunami. You're about to drink yourself a zombie. A pub on the wharf or a bar on the beach. All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink made with Bacardi, bare feet and blue jeans. Get ready to party. Sun, party on the pier. There's nothing wrong with ice cold beer. Get a frozen drink made with Bacardi. Barefoot with a Stetson and ready to party. Barefoot with a Stetson and ready to party. Frozen drinks, warm nights, feeling hearty. Raise a glass, feel the breeze, and you'll see every sip's a vibe when you're drinking carefree.
This video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi.
Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Sailing Biloxi Belle
is one man's journey about rebuilding his 50-year-old sailboat, getting ready to circumnavigate the world. Thank you for joining, and I hope that you enjoy and learn from me, and I hope I can learn from you. Information on the boat: this is a 1974 Coronado Continental Drifters 35 foot, and y'all please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you like the music, please check out my brother Ben Thompson, Barefoot with a Stetson.
All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink with a straw and umbrella, or a premium bottle from a nice wine cellar. A cup of ice and a little Sprite. You're getting ready for a fun night. Add some light rum and a little more. Then passion fruit juice is your next pour. A little lime juice and you're almost done. Now a big shot of 151. You're drinking something that is insane. Enjoy drinking a hurricane. A pub on the wharf or a bar on the beach. All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink made with Bacardi, bare feet and blue jeans. Get ready to party. Cherry brandy in a cup, grab some ice and fill it up. Add dark rum and light rum too, and pineapple and papaya juice. Add sugar and get ready for some fun. The last ingredient is 151. Your senses will flood like a tsunami. You're about to drink yourself a zombie. A pub on the wharf or a bar on the beach. All the dance moves your friends can teach. A frozen drink made with Bacardi, bare feet and blue jeans. Get ready to party. Fun in the sun, party on the pier. There's nothing wrong with ice cold beer. Get a frozen drink made with Bacardi, barefoot with a Stetson and ready to party.
All right, y'all. So I'm actually going to be responding to this. I'm not going to take anything away from it. This is from Boating Zen. Captain Wayne Canning made this video. I presume he is an amateur radio operator. The video is amateur radio on your boat. It's on his channel, Sailing Zen. I want to, or Boating Zen, excuse me. I'm going to put a link to his channel and the video, the original video down below. I am not going to take away anything from this video. I'm going to add a few things, but I'm not going to take anything away from it. I honestly believe that he did an excellent job with this video. And I really have nothing bad to say about it. I just want to give a little of my input and a couple of my recommendations. That's it. So, my background, for those of y'all who do not know, I am an amateur radio operator. My call sign is W5BLX. I have been an amateur radio operator for almost 18 years. Got my license in 2008 and been an active ham ever since. So without further ado, take it away, Cap.
Welcome aboard. I'm Captain Wayne Canning, and this is a Boating Zen podcast. Amateur radio for the cruising boat. There are many communication options available for the cruising boat, and each has its advantages and disadvantages. When I started cruising many years ago, the only communication options were basically VHF radio and single sideband radio. Today, that list is a bit longer, with cell phones, Wi-Fi, satellite communication now standard on many boats. Each of these has its own benefits and its place aboard a cruising boat, but I have found the old ways are often, if not the best, sometimes the most fun.
I agree.
Many cruising boats have marine single sideband radios, which are very similar to amateur or ham radio. Although equipped with these radios, many are not getting as much out of them as they could or should. Using single sideband and amateur radio aboard your boat can add a new dimension to communications, opening up new sources of information and sometimes making new friends along the way. So what is amateur or ham radio? It is a type of AM radio and is very similar to marine single sideband. Amateur
Now, it's not all AM. There are other modes, and I'm just throwing this out there. I think what he's mainly doing this video for is for HF communication. And you know what? That's great. 100%. I agree. You need HF communication if you're going blue water. Not just the fact that I am a ham radio operator, but I will not go blue water, anything. I won't do anything really more than 25 miles of the coast without having an HF radio on board. I will not. Of course, for my own purposes, I'm going to have my own HF radio on board. But I do want to correct just this little thing here. You can actually, if you decide to go, and he's going to go later on in the video and tell you how to get your ham license if you're in the U.S., and I highly recommend it. But if you are going to get your ham radio license, your first license, your technician class license, will give you VHF privileges in the 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands, as well as others. But if you're going into a new harbor, let's say, I'm leaving out of South Mississippi and I want to go to Tampa, and I want to, maybe know what's going on in Tampa. Well, line of sight over the water, and you're not going to do what I'm fixing to tell you all the time, but I have done it when conditions were right. I've hit the big stick repeater in Tampa, the NI4CE repeater, from Biloxi, Mississippi. Again, that was during some hellacious band conditions that we had. And that was several years ago. But I would venture to guess that if you were approaching Tampa by water and you got, say, 60, 70 miles away, and your antenna was at the top of your mast on a sailboat, I would venture to say that you being the tallest thing out there with no obstructions between you and Tampa, you'd probably hit the big stick with your standard 50-watt 2-meter radio. They also have 70 centimeter radios and 70 centimeter repeaters in that link, but that's more technical than I really want to get into right now about how the link system of the NI4C repeater system is. But I'd be pretty hard pressed to know that you could get a hold of it. And you're going through a repeater, and assuming we're talking about the NI4CE repeater system, you're going to hit people all over West Central Florida, all over the Tampa Bay. You're gonna get people. That being said, There is FM, which is not AM. You have C4 FM, which is a digital mode, D-Star, which nobody uses anymore, hardly, DMR. There's several modes that you can operate. That's not just AM. I just want to throw that out there. And these will help you communicate when you need to, depending on how you need to. But more on that when I get my setup on the boat. I will do a practical demonstration, I promise.
Amateur radio operates on similar frequencies to marine single sideband. However, it allows more frequencies to be used, making it a lot more versatile.
Okay, that 14.340, 14.325, 14.300 that she just showed, those are all in the 20 meter bands. I want to throw this out there. 20 meter ham radio band. This is a Marine ICOM M710 Marine radio. It's a good radio. I want to say your average Marine radio puts out 150 watts. Your average ham radio out of the box puts out, usually stopping at 100 watts. Some go to 200, but those are contest rigs and those are very expensive, and I really wouldn't want to put one of those on my boat. Just throwing this out there. This ICOM M710, great radio. And it, as you can tell, it will modify for ham radio. And 14.300 is the Maritime Mobile Net, and it's on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's always on. If you ever run into an emergency, you can always call. There's always people listening. And if they get a call from whatever jurisdiction that you may be in that you need help, they're going to listen to those guys. So just throwing that out there. They have great relationships with most first and second world Coast Guards.
Operating on the AM bands means that with just a relatively small amount of output power, you are able to communicate long distances, sometimes thousands of miles, making this a good option for cruising boats in far-off locations. In fact, amateur radio is so similar to marine single sideband that almost all marine units can be opened up to amateur bands with just a simple software update.
Usually a hardware update, not a software update. Maybe the new ones are software, but the old ones like that ICOM M710, you probably have to snip a diode. It's fairly easy to do, and you can go online and find manuals anywhere. Even if you're not very technical, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not very technical. I'm an equipment operator. I'm not a technician. I'm just laying this on the line for y'all, but I can do it. With my old eyes, that's getting old, and I'm getting to where I can't see shit anymore. I can actually manage to go in there and, either solder a jumper or desolder a jumper or take out a diode, whatever. It takes literally just a few minutes on those older ICOM radios, the 70, what is it, the 710, the 700, I think, is one. They're all basically a variant of the ICOM IC718, which is a ham radio, which is an HF ham radio. So they're all pretty close to that. They're all built fairly close to the same.
Many cruisers, both sail and power, have found amateur radio can not only add a new level of safety to their cruising, but can also add new dimension of fun. One of the big differences in radio communication over cell and satellite phones is that radio is open for others to hear and join in on the conversations. Now, at first, this lack of privacy may seem a bit uncomfortable, but in truth, it opens a new community to the cruiser in their travels. There are many nets or open conversations available to any cruiser who wishes to join in. Information about weather, cruising conditions.
I'll actually want to put a link to this on the video as well. This is good information on some net frequencies.
And even boat repair is talked about on these radio nets. Many nets have a daily check-in for voyaging boats on passage, adding to the safety factor for these sailors. Most of these nets operate at specified times of the day and are controlled, meaning a volunteer will control who can talk and when. If you already have a marine single sideband, you may be very close to being able to use amateur frequencies as well. As mentioned, most marine units are able to be modified to work as an amateur radio. This modification, usually a simple software mod that can be made by any good marine radio technician. The antenna and tuner remain the same, so this can be a very cost-effective way to get into amateur radio. If you are starting from scratch, it is recommended to install an already opened marine radio, as these are simpler to operate and can also be used on the marine bands and frequencies. FCC laws allow users to operate a marine radio on the amateur bands, but not the other way around, as marine units are required to have tighter tolerances for maintaining frequency during operation.
I actually did not know this. However, though what he's saying is technically the law, I've never really known the FCC to really care unless you're doing something that you, and again, I'm not advocating breaking the law. If you want to go by the book, I'm all for it. Go by the book. But, same time, I've never seen anybody get in trouble for operating a ham HF on marine frequencies. Many people do it out of convenience. I probably will be doing that. Simply because it's cheaper, and I'm not rich by any means. Also, the fact that I'm going to have more than one control point for radios on my boat. More into that when I get into actually setting up everything the way I want it done. So, I'm going to assume that this guy is right. He probably is. But just bear in mind that a lot of us use HF or use ham radio for HF on the marine bands. I'm actually going to register my boat with the FCC to where it has its own station license. And I'm going to double check what this guy says, but I'm pretty sure that it's not that big of a deal. Maybe it is. Maybe somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong. And if you tell me I'm wrong, well, then I guess I'll just be wrong. But I don't really think they care too much as long as you're not causing interference. And I've never known a ham radio to throw out spurious emissions that wasn't just modified and being operated improperly to that point. As hams, we take our signals cleanliness. Most of us, we take that as a point of pride. We want the clean signals. We don't want to cause spurious emissions and interference. And we take special care to where we don't do that. Just my opinion. But again, I'm going to assume he's right, and I'm going to assume that I'm wrong here. But I'm also telling you that's how I'm setting it up.
Many are put off by the complexity and expense and difficulty of getting set up with amateur radio. The equipment can be pricey and the installation a bit finicky, but not that difficult. Add to that the need for a license, and many pass up becoming amateur radio operators. It is true getting set up for amateur radio communications can be a bit daunting. However, it is usually worth the effort. It also needs to be kept in mind, once set up, most amateur radio services are free, unlike satellite and cell phones, which require a monthly fee to use. To reduce costs, there is also an option of purchasing used equipment. For others, the thought of having to study Morse code along with electrical and radio theory to get the license is too much. The truth is, the license is not that hard to get, and Morse code is no longer required. There are 3 basic levels of amateur radio licenses available in the U.S. Each level gives the operator more frequencies and privileges when operating an amateur station. The first level is a technician. This is an entry-level license with fairly restricted use. The next level is a general class license. This is what most cruisers get. This license opens more frequency for the operator and is not too difficult to get. Finally, there is the extra class license that requires an even greater level of understanding of radio theory. This license has 50 questions, and you must have passed the previous 2 tests before you would be allowed to test for this.
Let me stop him right here. There is a benefit to getting your extra class ham radio license. And the benefit is SEPT and IARU. There's a lot of countries that are with SEPT, which is for mainly the EU, and IARU, which is North and South America, that will not allow you to operate on ham radio in their country, even from your own boat, unless you have an extra class license. That's just their rules. If you're going to go blue water, please, I encourage you, get your extra class. Even if you may not use all the HF frequencies like I do, that you're allocated to use, because of the SEPT and IARU agreements, you probably will not be able to operate in a lot of countries if you just stop at getting the general class license. Some countries will allow you to operate with a general. Most of them want you to get the extra. Y'all keep that in mind.
The extra class license does open all amateur frequencies to the operator, giving you more options. There is a misconception that the tests needed to get an amateur radio operator's license are difficult and will take a lot of study. The truth is, some study is required, but it is not that difficult and worth the effort. Both the technical and general class licenses only have 35 multiple choice questions to pass, and neither require Morse code anymore. You must pass the technician class before you can test for the general class. This means you only have 2 tests with a total of 70 questions to be up and running with an amateur station. That is not so bad, really, and what you learn can also be helpful to understanding the rest of your boat's electrical systems, so not a bad investment of time. Taking the tests is usually very simple. The tests are given by a local ARRL, American Radio League, groups and are normally given every other week or at least once a month, depending on your location. The fee is low, and you can take both the technician and general class tests in the same sitting for the same fee. You must pass the technician test prior to taking the general class, but they can score your test right there and let you know if you can take the next test right away.
You can actually do all 3 in one sitting. Granted, that is a really hard feat. That is a really hard feat to do. It can be done. I have seen it done. Granted, the guy was a RF engineer. But I know about 2 people who have walked in with nothing and left waiting on their extra, as we say. It can happen. Me personally, I got my technician class in June of 08, general in July of 08, and my extra in April of 2012. So it can happen, but you got to really buckle down. And just to throw this out there too, it helps to have a good Elmer. And if you don't know what an Elmer is, that is somebody who is already in amateur radio, already licensed, been doing it for a while, and has the knowledge to teach you what you need to know. I personally am going to tell you that if you're interested in getting your license, I will be happy to be your Elmer. Give me a call, 228-337-2099. You can leave me, and if I don't know your number, it's going to go to voicemail. You can either A, leave me a voicemail, or B, just shoot me a text, and then I'll get back to you on that. I'll be glad to help you out. I'll be glad to be your Elmer. I want you licensed. I want you on the air. And I want to do this to show that this is something that can be done. It is attainable. It is fun. And welcome to the ham radio is like a big fraternity. So, for lack of a better term, welcome to the fraternity.
This can save a few bucks too, as you will only pay for a single testing fee. After passing the test, it only takes a week or so to get your call sign, allowing you to operate on the air. There are many online resources to aid in studying for tests. Many have sample tests you can take to help get you ready as well. The ARRL website has a lot of information on just how to go about the whole process. For most, a couple of weeks of study in your spare time is all it takes to get through the tests. For many cruising couples, this can be a fun way to prepare for your upcoming voyages. Setting up a station aboard your boat can be simple as modifying an existing single sideband unit, or a bit more challenging for those starting from scratch. For those with existing single sideband unit, check to see if it is possible to transmit on an amateur band. To do this, you simply tune to a non-marine frequency with no traffic on it and key the mic. If the radio goes into transmit mode, you are good to go. If it does not, you may need to make a modification to the radio. How difficult this will be depends on the brand and age of the unit. It would be best to consult a local marine radio technician for help with this, but some information can be found online as well. For those starting from scratch, I recommend purchasing a marine unit that is already open to the amateur bands. Installing a single sideband radio is not quite as easy as installing a VHF radio, but it is not that difficult as some would have you believe. There are basically two parts of a good installation: the radio itself and the antenna system. Notice I refer to the antenna as a system rather than a single element. This is because the antenna is perhaps the most important part of the installation and is a bit more than just a pole stuck up on the top of your boat. Single sideband antennas consist of basically three parts. The first is the antenna itself, the next is the antenna tuner, and lastly, the antenna ground plane. It is beyond the scope of this article to get into all the nuances of antennas and radio installations, so I would suggest you find a good technician to help with the installation.
Okay. Now for my recommendations on how I am going to set mine up, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. And I'm okay with that. I am perfectly okay with that. Number one, and this is what's going to get me a lot of flack. On my boat, I have a 40-foot mast. And being that I have a 40-foot mast, I have decided to run what's known as a G5RV. A G5RV, which I've ran one for years, it is a wire dipole antenna. It consists of two 51-foot lengths of wire and 34 feet of ladder line from the center of the antenna. So basically, you have your center of the antenna at the very top of your mast, and you run 51 feet of wire down pretty close to around where you run your backstays. Now, my boat's 35 feet long. Spread out like that, I should have hopefully just enough space to run a G5 RV and have it spread out without running any kind of crazy configurations. The other side of it is I'm going to run an LDG antenna tuner. LDG is cheap, but they work. They will tune a fence, literally. They will literally tune a chain link fence. Now, I'm not in love with the idea of running a tuner, but, and again, we're talking about a sailboat, limited space. I don't really have a whole lot of place to put multiple antennas like that. I've considered running a fan dipole, but I think just in the interest of keeping things simple for now, I'm going to try the G5 RV. Later on, if I can get away with it, maybe I'll build a trap dipole. We'll see, but that's getting into more advanced that I don't want to get into. The other thing that I'm going to tell y'all is your feed line, just like you said. At the bottom of the G5 RV, I recommend doing a good choke, good air choke. Means I'm going to take my coax, I'm going to take a coffee can, like a Folgers coffee can, and I'm going to go around it several times with the feed line, zip tie it, and give myself that choke there to stop RF from coming back into my boat where I don't want it. And I will probably do that in between the tuner and the feed point for the ladder line. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be running LMR 400 on everything. But I'm also going to be running LMR 400 on my VHF UHF setup, which is going to be hooked up to my marine radio. And again, this is going to be an elaborate setup. And again, I'm also running two feed points, or two radio control points. One under the hard dodger, one in the saloon itself. So that's what I've got going on. And I'll put an antenna switch at the companionway to switch between radios. That way I know that I'm always on the right, my right radio is hooked up to the right antenna. Just throwing this out there, that's what I'm doing. Maybe my plans will change, but for now, that's what I got in mind. And a G5 RV, a pretty well tuned anywhere you want to with the assistance of a tuner from 80 meters or 3.5 megacycles to 10 meters, which is up to 29.7 megacycles.
Check with your local amateur radio club and other boaters in your area that use single sideband radio for advice. I do recommend keeping things as simple as possible and build on a basic installation as your expertise with this type of radio grows. Do not cut corners on wire or wire connection quality, as these are critical. When helping troubleshoot problems on other systems, I have found it is often the very simple basic things, such as using poor quality antenna cable, that can make a system work or not.
I agree.
Once you have your radio set up and have passed your tests for your license, it is time to explore this new world of amateur radio. For many, this means sitting in the marina trying to make contact with somebody. This is also the point where many get frustrated and begin to lose interest from the start. The problem is most marinas are very noisy as far as radio signals go. Other boats' refrigerators, battery chargers, and other equipment leak radio noise.
And your own battery charger will also do the same. So the best way to do this, I know what he's fixing to say, but I want to cut him off and just say this. Putting a low noise filter will help out a lot.
Add to that transformers and other equipment in the marina itself, and nothing but the strongest signals get through to your radio. Another mistake many make is not knowing where and when to try to talk to other stations. It is at this point many think their installation is poor, when in fact it may not be. Before getting frustrated, it helps to search online for the times and frequencies of marine nets in your area. Try just listening for a bit. Pick a few nets to follow and tune in when they are on. If all you can hear is static or strange beeping noises, try turning off equipment on your boat to see if this quiets things down. Inverters, battery chargers, and refrigeration units are among the noisiest things aboard. If this does not help, try taking the boat out of the marina and try again. It can be amazing the difference just anchoring out away from all the electrical noise can make. Connecting with other amateur radio operators in an online group who you can set up a time to talk to is a good way to test your setup as well. If all else fails, try contacting your local amateur radio club for help. These people love to assist newbies in getting going and will be more than willing to check your setup. Setting up for amateur radio may seem a bit formidable, but it is not that hard as some think. The rewards come when you get to share information and make new friends while cruising the marine nets. As you begin to listen to and participate in cruising nets, the names of the boats and their crews will start to become familiar. You may even find yourself anchored in the same cove as someone you have been talking to. Often, the net controllers are land-based, giving them access to weather and other information that might be hard to get while afloat. These net controllers also can be helpful in keeping contact with loved ones at home. More than once, I have heard emergency information relayed when someone at home became ill. You can also get real-time information about port conditions and other safety matters. The use of amateur radio aboard your boat can add a new dimension to the cruising experience, adding safety along with a bit of fun in the process. Learning to install and operate the equipment will add to your overall boating electrical knowledge. The experience and learning curve is not as bad as some would say, and the rewards are many. Written, recorded, and produced by Captain Wayne Canning for BoatingZen.com. All rights reserved. All music from royalty-free sources. This is a user-supported podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing at patreon.com/BoatingZen. Thank you for your support. Please visit my website, BoatingZen.com. Until next time, fair winds and following seas.
All right, y'all. Please be sure to go check out Boating Zen. Again, great information. I found him today on one of the Facebook groups I'm in, and I think that his information that he gave is pretty damn good. I just wanted to add my own to it. Because it's, he didn't mention the SEP thing. And again, get on HF. It could save your life. You could save somebody else's life. True story. We all know about the Titanic. But nobody remembers or wants to talk about the Californian. Californian was close to the Titanic. It was the closest ship. The radio operator aboard the Titanic was sending messages across the Atlantic to Cape Race. When they struck the iceberg, Californian turned their radio off and went to bed. Therefore, missing the Mayday, missing the CQD and SOS. could have saved lives on the Titanic. Now, a satellite phone and Starlink internet is great to have. 100% great to have. You're not going to get an argument out of me on this. But you're not going to hear the Mayday on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, more than likely. But if somebody else has got a radio and they get on there, Mayday, 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 I need help. I'm going down. I'm sinking by the head. I've got this going. I've got that going. I just, come up with a collision with another boat, or I just hit a reef and I'm taking on water. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever the emergency is, and you're on, say, 14300, well, if you're close, you may not hear the actual Mayday, but you will hear net control relay the Mayday, and you might be the closest one to render assistance and save lives. Just like listening on channel 13 and 16 on your marine radio, on your marine VHF radio. Same principle. Just something to think about, y'all. Y'all take care. Have a good one. Selling Biloxi Belle. Your host, Anthony Oksenholt, 73 from W5BLX.